Welcome to Oklahoma Christian University. I'm John deSteiguer, and I've got a very special guest with me on campus today. Chris Spielman and I are sitting on the stage at Hardeman Auditorium. Just a few hours ago, Chris spoke to our student body. This place was packed, and they heard a story that was very, very special. Chris has been a football player for quite some time. In 1983, he received the Dial Award. That's the National High School Student Athlete of the Year Award. He went from there to become a star linebacker with Ohio State, the Buckeyes. He was named All-American twice. He received the Lombardi Award. He was then drafted into the NFL by the Detroit Lions, played for the Lions and the Buffalo Bills. He was a star in every sense of the word, and then elected to the College Hall of Fame in football. Chris, when did you know that you had a future in football?
Well, it's interesting. From the time I was probably 3, to be honest with you, because my dad was a high school football coach, and I embraced the game from an early age, and I used to watch games and envision myself doing that. And I thought to myself, well, I want to be that. I want to be a professional football player. And I thought that every kid could grow up to be a professional football player. And it just worked out that God blessed me with the ability and the drive to be able to accomplish that goal.
Tell me, Chris, about your Christian walk while you were actively playing football. Was it difficult? Did you have a lot of people supporting you in that?
Well, I grew up in a faith-based home, and we went to church. And as you, like a lot of young people, there comes a point in time, and I present this to my kids, you know, I know and you know what you believe, but you need to tell me why you believe it. Then eventually young people have to make a decision to make their faith their own. And I just had this conversation with my 13-year-old daughter the other day. I said, look, my faith is not going to be your faith. I mean, you have to choose to follow Jesus or not follow Jesus. When you look at it in the NFL, they offer great support. There's always there's priests for Catholics, there's ministers, there's any type of support for Christianity that you want is involved in football. It's there. You know, there's a lot of players that have a strong faith in the game, and unfortunately, we never hear about it, but there's certainly a presence.
When you turned 17, you met somebody special. Who was that?
I actually met my only girlfriend, Stefanie Lynn Belcher at the time, and you know, I really didn't like girls that much because I didn't have anything in common with them. And like, I had buddies say, well, I'm hanging out with my friend Sarah. Well, why are you friends with Sarah? What do you guys talk about? You talk about football? What do you talk about? And I don't understand. And but there was something special about her, and ended up dating throughout high school, and I was a little older. I went to Ohio State. A year later, she came down to Ohio State, and our relationship grew into eventually a marriage, and it was a wonderful, wonderful time in my life.
Chris, looking at it, it seemed almost storybook. You were a star football player at the very height of your game. You had a wonderful wife that you had been in love with for a long time. Your family was beginning to grow, but then things changed. Would you talk about that?
I had some injuries, and I would say on the tail end of my career, and I suffered a neck injury. And I was trying to come back from that, and we were also expanding our family, and we're expecting our 3rd child. In June of 1998, actually, Stefanie and we miscarried a child. We lost that baby. We'll meet that baby again as fully healed in heaven. And then a month later, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so our world was turned upside down. At the time, made the decision to walk away from the game of football and walked away from a lot of money, to be quite honest with you. But God also put me in a position financially to have a choice to walk away, because I wanted to be with her as she went through her struggle. The reasons being was that on June 24th of 1989, I said in front of God, in family and friends, and in sickness and in health, and I meant it. I wanted our kids to learn from their parents' actions as opposed to just their words. I believe that God, through a series of difficult circumstances, was preparing for me and my family the most difficult circumstance to deal with a 12-year battle with breast cancer with my wife.
Chris, during that time period, tell me about your faith. Did it grow? Were there difficult times?
I often think that, it's easy to stand up and say, I trust you, Jesus, when things are great and everything is going your way. When things go wrong, and it seems like, especially when a series of things go wrong, you get angry. Now, I don't think it's wrong to get angry, because I believe in Christianity the part of a relationship, well, in any relationship, whether it's a marriage or it's your walk with God, that you better be honest, because I don't think anybody's going to lie to God and be able to get away with it. And so I never lost faith. I never lost sight of who he was and what he says he is, and that Jesus is God. I never lost sight of that. But I said, what are you doing to me? What did I do to deserve this? And it's been my experience, and I tell my kids this, and especially when I had to have the talk that their mother was getting ready to die and to go home to get healed, that, look, in these types of situations, one of two things usually happens. People either run away from God and are bitter and angry, or they run to God and submit. And for me, the situation became so overwhelming that I had to humble myself and bury my ego and run to God and submit and accept whatever the plan was and trust it. Even though it was difficult and hard to trust, I have to trust it and believe it, and I do until this day.
I mentioned to you this morning, after speaking to our student body, I have heard a number of people that have come up to me since this morning and said that hearing from you and your story and how you and Stefanie handled what happened has inspired them as well.
My goal, I guess, now is to provide hope. And I talk about it, the secular world defines hope as a wish. I think the biblical world, or the biblical definition of hope, is a promise. And I want students and everybody that I come in contact with to understand that this life is full of challenges and full of blessings, but we are made for so much more. And it's hard for us as people to keep an eternal perspective on things. And so what I'm trying to do is offer an eternal perspective that what we have waiting for us is so much more. And all we have to do is trust God in this life and deal with whatever challenges come our way and whatever glories come our way, and just deal with those in the same manner, and understanding that this life is just a blink of an eye and something is waiting for us that is beyond our comprehension.
A powerful analyst for ESPN, a powerful story, and a powerful man of faith, Chris Spielman.